Opening the tomb of Egypt's most unfortunate pharaoh. Archaeologists collapsed after seeing this. In the world of ancient Egypt, where pharaohs were seen as divine incarnations and death was not an end but the beginning of an eternal journey, the improper burial of a king was almost unthinkable. Yet, in the arid desert of the ancient city of Abydos, one of Egypt's holiest centers, archaeologists uncovered a tomb revealing a horrifying tale: a mummy torn to pieces and a coffin that did not belong to the king inside. This tomb belonged to Pharaoh Seneb Kay, a name seemingly buried deep beneath the sands of time. But when his tomb was discovered at the El Qa'ab cemetery, north of Abydos, chilling mysteries began to unravel. Through inscriptions, royal symbols, and surviving grave goods, researchers confirmed this was the final resting place of Woseribre Senebkay, a pharaoh who ruled during the Second Intermediate Period, the most chaotic era in ancient Egyptian history. At that time, the land lacked a unified dynasty, with self-proclaimed kings ruling over fragmented regions, and Seneb Kay was one of them. The first peculiarity was the tomb's scale. Unlike the lavish, magnificent tombs of pharaohs from Egypt's golden ages, Seneb Kay's tomb consisted of just 4 simple chambers. Yet, within this simplicity lay a discovery that stunned experts. Upon opening the coffin, they found not an intact mummy, but a body torn apart, dismembered into fragments. This was not the work of time's decay, but evidence of a violent desecration, an act of destruction against a mummy, which the ancient Egyptians considered sacred and inviolable. In their beliefs, a damaged mummy meant the soul was eternally trapped, unable to ascend to the afterlife. Furthermore, the canopic jars, used to store organs removed during mummification, were found heavily deteriorated, housed in a decayed cedar wood box. The entire tomb bore clear signs of a large-scale robbery, but the truth behind it was far more sinister. When archaeologists closely examined the coffin holding the king's remains, they made a shocking discovery. The coffin was not crafted for Seneb Kay. Based on its carving style, decorative patterns, and crucially, the age of the wood, experts determined the coffin predated Seneb Kay's era by a significant margin. After cross-referencing data, they concluded it originally belonged to Pharaoh Seneb Kay IV, a powerful king of the 13th dynasty. This raised an immediate question. Why was a king like Seneb Kay buried in another pharaoh's coffin? Was he the victim of a swap, or did he himself order the theft of a coffin from an older tomb for reuse? One theory suggests that during this turbulent period, Egypt was plagued by internal conflict and depleted treasuries, leaving even kings without the resources for a proper royal burial. In such circumstances, reusing an old coffin, even one belonging to a previous pharaoh, may have been a necessity. However, some experts question whether Seneb Kay was truly a pharaoh or merely a local leader who claimed the title, lacking the power and prestige history later attributed to him. On the other hand, some scholars argue that if Seneb Kay had the wealth and authority to build a dedicated tomb, there was no reason for him to covet another king's burial goods. Could the swapped coffin be part of a larger cover-up, perhaps orchestrated by the court of his time or by forces seeking to conceal something? We may not yet have enough evidence for a definitive answer, but one thing is certain: Seneb Kay's story is not just about a forgotten king, but a vivid reflection of the decline, chaos, and collapse of an entire era. As the desert sands are peeled back and mysteries unveiled, we draw closer not only to the life of one king, but to a dark chapter in ancient Egyptian history. This leaves us wondering, how many more tombs lie buried beneath the earth, holding untold secrets? How many more pharaohs await their final call? In the next part, we'll explore ancient tombs, mummies bearing chilling mysteries, and nameless artifacts that baffle even the most brilliant experts. What exactly are these archaeological discoveries? Without keeping you waiting any longer, let's dive in. An intact 1,800-year-old tomb, untouched by time, unveiling the mystery of a noble Roman woman. During an excavation at the ancient Rams necropolis, the archaeological team discovered a sealed limestone sarcophagus firmly secured with 8 iron clasps. Such a find is exceedingly rare. Over the centuries, most Roman-era tombs have been looted, damaged, or have disappeared altogether. But here, everything remained in place, as if the tomb had been waiting for just the right moment to be discovered. The lid of the sarcophagus weighed nearly 1,700 pounds, a figure that highlights how opening it required not only modern technology but also immense patience and precision. Rather than force it open and risk damaging its contents, the experts used endoscopic cameras and X-ray imaging to investigate the interior. What they saw beneath the thick stone left them stunned. Inside was a human skeleton, still lying in its original position after nearly 2 millennia. What made the discovery even more extraordinary were the burial objects found alongside her. A small bronze mirror, tarnished with age, an amber ring still bearing its natural shine, and a finely carved, elegant comb. These were not just personal items, they were clues to the woman's identity. Based on the artifacts, researchers concluded that the deceased was a woman, around 40 years old at the time of her death. The arrangement of the tomb, along with the presence of luxurious jewelry and personal items, led archaeologists to believe that she was far from ordinary. She may have belonged to the upper class of Roman society, or perhaps was a foreigner of high status who had settled in Reims, then an important political and commercial hub. The presence of 4 oil lamps and 2 slender glass vessels, likely used for perfumes or scented oils, further confirmed that she had been honored with a respectful burial ritual. In ancient Roman culture, such lamps were often believed to guide the soul into the afterlife, part of a sacred ceremonial tradition. The untouched tomb has offered archaeologists a kind of time capsule, preserving layers of information never recorded in written history. What remains of this woman may provide valuable insight into the roles of women in Roman society, how they lived, how they were remembered, and especially the connection between the Roman elite and distant regions like Gallia, modern-day France. Researchers are currently analyzing the woman's DNA, hoping to compare it with other remains found in Reims. Their goal is to determine whether she was a local, a descendant of Roman nobility from the capital city of Rome, or perhaps even from a far-flung corner of the vast Roman Empire, which stretched from North Africa to the British Isles. Could she have ties to Roman royalty, or was she a powerful figure within her local community? And if so, what kind of influence might she have had on ancient Reims, a city that would later become the coronation site of medieval French kings? These are questions that many are asking today. Even the experts will need time to fully uncover the answers. Still, regardless of the specifics, this discovery has brought an ancient woman back into the light of history. It also opens a new path toward understanding the deep connections between people, power, and faith across centuries. It reminds us that those who lived nearly 2,000 years ago, though long gone, still leave lasting marks on the present, and that every set of human remains holds a story waiting to be told. The most mysterious Grand Eunuch tomb in China. Have you ever imagined the life and death of a man who once lived within and quietly wielded power behind the grand walls of the Forbidden City, China's most magnificent palace through 4 Qing dynasty reigns? If so, you must be curious, right? Let me tell you the story of a eunuch named Li Lianying, a favored confidant of Empress Dowager Cixi, who held a special position within the Qing imperial court. However, his life, and especially his death, remains shrouded in unsolved mystery. The story begins in the summer of 1966 in the Haidian district of Beijing, when a group of people accidentally discovered an enormous tomb covering roughly 20 acres. It turned out to be the burial site of Li Lianying, the powerful Grand Eunuch of the Qing dynasty's inner palace. What stood out immediately was that the tomb was built upon a foundation of Tam-2 earth, a type of compacted soil traditionally reserved for royal mausoleums. This alone indicated Li's exceptionally high status. Upon entering the tomb, archaeologists were struck by the grandeur of the space. A pristine white marble chamber symbolized luxury and nobility. At the center stood a reddish-purple coffin placed on a jade platform and surrounded by intricately carved ornaments and bronze coins engraved with the character Lai. Everything about the tomb reflected a life of immense power and influence, a man who once lived among gold and jade, commanding great authority within the imperial palace. And yet, what shocked everyone the most was this. When the archaeologists opened the coffin, they found nothing but a pile of muddy sludge. Li Lianying's body was missing. This baffling discovery raised a major question. How could such a powerful and highly favored figure leave behind an empty coffin? The mystery sparked intense debates among historians and archaeologists, leading to a flurry of theories attempting to explain his strange disappearance. Li Lianying had sided with Empress Dowager Cixi during her political power struggle against Emperor Guangxu, but he was not directly involved in conspiracies or court intrigues. His neutral stance meant that eliminating him would not have particularly benefited either side. In fact, no clear justification could be found for any act of revenge or political retribution. One of the most controversial theories came from Yan Yimin, a renowned researcher who suggested that Zhang Zhaozong, a rival court figure, had once invited Li for a meal, only to secretly arrange his murder near the Huhai area in Beijing. However, this hypothesis was quickly dismissed due to a lack of motive and geographical inconsistency, as Zhang Zhaozong lived far from where the incident supposedly occurred. No records indicated any serious conflict between the two. Other experts propose that Li Lianying may have been killed during a debt collection trip to Shandong province. But this theory seems questionable, given Li's immense wealth and social status. Why would a man of his position need to personally chase debts? Supporters of this theory, however, believe he might have died during or shortly after visiting his niece, who lived in Shandong. So what exactly happened to him? To this day, the death of Li Lianying remains an unresolved mystery. None of the theories hold enough evidence to confirm what truly occurred. The secrets buried within the vast tomb of this once all-powerful eunuch remain hidden beneath layers of hardened royal soil, waiting for future explorers to uncover them. Have you ever wondered what kinds of power plays and conspiracies were woven behind the cold, towering walls of the Forbidden City, shaping the complex life of someone like Li Lianying? And will the secrets surrounding his death ever come to light? What do you think about this story? Which theory do you find most convincing? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below, especially if you know anything about the mystery of this remarkable tomb. The 210,000-year-old skull at Abydos Cave, unveiling the mysterious migration of early modern humans. An archaeological discovery announced on July 11, 2019, sent shockwaves through the scientific world, revealing an unexpected new chapter in the story of modern humans beyond Africa, a place long believed to be the sole cradle of Homo sapiens. Specifically, at Abydos Cave in Greece, a fossilized human skull, named Abydos 1, was dated to be approximately 210,000 years old, making it the oldest known fossil of modern humans ever found outside of Africa. This finding stunned archaeologists, as the previous oldest evidence of modern humans in Europe only dated back about 50,000 years. The new data represented a staggering leap, one that opened a whole new perspective on our ancestors' migratory journey. Let's take a closer look at what this means. Previously, southeastern Europe had always been considered a key corridor for modern humans migrating out of Africa into Eurasia. But this new discovery suggests that Homo sapiens may have begun exploring that route far earlier than we ever imagined, well beyond what was previously recorded by science. In other words, our ancestors may have taken their first steps out of Africa much earlier, expanding their range into distant lands long before permanent settlements were established. Even more remarkably, the researchers didn't find just one skull in Abydos Cave. They also discovered a second fossil, Abydos 2, dating back about 170,000 years, which belonged to a Neanderthal, a close relative of Homo sapiens. This made the story even more intriguing. Abydos 1 was actually older than Abydos 2, suggesting that modern humans were present in Europe before Neanderthals in that region. This discovery challenges the long-standing theory that modern humans migrated out of Africa only once, around 70,000 years ago, gradually spreading into new territories. Instead, scientists now believe that our species may have undertaken multiple migration waves over hundreds of thousands of years, and that not all of these migrations led to long-term settlement. Some groups of Homo sapiens may have migrated to new areas only to be pushed back or die out due to harsh climates, competition with Neanderthals, or other unknown factors. The existence of Abydos 1 greatly expands our understanding of the diversity and complexity of human evolution. It shows us that human evolution wasn't a straight line, but rather a tangled web of interactions, overlaps, and transitions between different human species. At one time, modern humans and Neanderthals may have lived side by side, possibly interacting, competing, or even exchanging knowledge. All of these insights are made possible by modern archaeological technologies, such as ancient DNA analysis and advanced dating methods. These tools allow us not only to find fossils, but also to understand more deeply the origins, migrations, and adaptations of our ancestors. So, what does this mean for us today? It reminds us that the story of humanity is a long, winding tale with many untold chapters. Every fossil, every artifact is a crucial puzzle piece, helping us complete the grand picture of where we come from and how we became who we are. Abydos 1 is one of the most precious of those pieces. Have you ever wondered what those early Homo sapiens at Abydos went through? What kind of climate did they face? How did they live and survive in an environment already familiar to the Neanderthals? Those are questions that scientists are still working to answer in future research. But even from these ancient bones, science does more than trace migration routes. It helps us understand the very nature of humanity, our adaptability, curiosity, and resilience in the face of challenge. And it's precisely these traits that laid the foundation for the civilization we live in today. Fascinating, isn't it? 51 elongated skulls at the Woseribre Senebkay Cemetery, Hungary. Cultural identity and historical turmoil in the 5th century. Let's turn back time to the 5th century, a period of great upheaval as the Roman Empire teetered on the edge of collapse and new tribes began to invade and reshape the face of Europe. Amidst this chaos, a mysterious archaeological discovery at the Woseribre Cemetery, located in present-day Western Hungary, has revealed previously unknown secrets about the lives and cultures of the people from that era. Between the 1960s and 1990s, archaeologists excavated this burial site and uncovered the remains of at least 96 individuals, dating back nearly 1,500 years. What shocked researchers most was that 51 of the skulls had been deliberately elongated, the largest number of intentionally modified skulls ever found in Central Europe. This practice of skull elongation was no accident. It was carried out over the span of 3 generations and across 3 distinct groups of people, demonstrating the existence of a long-standing cultural tradition passed down over time. But why elongate skulls in the first place? Experts explain that this practice began during early childhood, when children's heads were tightly wrapped with cloth to shape their skulls as they grew. This wasn't merely a cosmetic choice. It may have signified social status, tribal affiliation, or spiritual beliefs. The act reflected a deep-rooted tradition, serving as a cultural marker that distinguished these communities in a period of extreme social transformation. However, the significance of this discovery goes beyond cultural practices alone. The Woseribre Cemetery also offers a vivid glimpse into the turmoil and shifting social order that followed the Roman Empire's withdrawal from the province of Pannonia, leaving a power vacuum for the Huns and other migrating peoples to fill. This was a time marked by wars, rebellions, and even plagues, creating a complex and often chaotic social landscape. These skeletal remains are living proof of that transitional period. They reflect a diverse community, one that strived to maintain its traditions while adapting to profound changes in cultural and political structures. Through them, we gain deeper insight into how different ethnic groups interacted, clashed, and merged during one of the most transformative chapters in European history. The presence of 3 different population groups, all practicing skull elongation at this site, indicates that this cemetery was far more than a burial ground. It was a testament to a multicultural society shaped by a range of origins and customs. It also serves as a crucial piece in reconstructing the migration period, a time when numerous tribes from the east and north flooded into Central Europe, forming a rich and complex mosaic of peoples and traditions. So what did cranial elongation really mean to these people? Was it purely aesthetic? Or was it a symbol of power, class, or religious belief? The answers remain hidden in ongoing research by archaeologists and anthropologists. But one thing is certain, this practice left a profound mark on human cultural history, especially within the turbulent and transformative context of the 5th century. From the graves at Woseribre, we see more than just unusually shaped bones. We witness the resilience of human identity, passed down through generations that endured harsh and uncertain times. This discovery not only sheds light on a forgotten piece of history, but also raises new questions. inviting us to continue exploring the mysterious past of our ancestors. Do you think customs like skull elongation were a way for people to express identity and difference during times of chaos? Or could they hold deeper, undiscovered meanings? As you can see, history is still waiting to be uncovered, and with each new discovery, whether at the Mosixide Doulos Cemetery or any other ancient burial site, we move one step closer to the truth of a lost world. What do you think about today's archaeological discoveries? Which one impressed you the most? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to give this channel a like and subscribe so you won't miss any other fascinating finds in the future. For now, goodbye, and see you next time.